Hey guys, my name is Panda and welcome back to my channel. Today we're looking at the new community Edge 540 mod for DCS World. This mod has been in development for over 2 years by a long list of part-time developers. The Edge 540 is a free mod made specifically for the virtual air racing series, but is available for all to enjoy. If you'd like to join in on the action, you can sign up by clicking the link in the description, and I highly recommend getting involved. VARS really does have something for everyone on offer and is supported by an incredibly friendly community. Now, a few things to note before we get into the video. Number 1, this mod is still in development and what you're about to see is early access. As a result, there may be some missing or work in progress features in this current build and everything is subject to change. Number 2, please keep in mind that this mod has been made with racing in mind and should not be considered a realistic representation of the real Edge 540 in its current state. Finally, this video is less of a review and more of a what to expect introduction. I will be honest in saying that I may be slightly biased as I did have a very small hand in testing. That being said, my feelings and opinions regarding this mod are my own and this is not a sponsored video. So with that out of the way, allow me to introduce you to the world of virtual air racing and the all-new Edge 540 for DCS. Right, welcome to the cockpit of the Edge 540, and I'm just going to give you guys a good look around here. And the first thing we'll notice is that it is constructed out of carbon fiber and steel tubing, which runs throughout this cockpit. Now, as someone who has worked extensively with carbon fiber, I can say that the team have done a fantastic job in terms of modeling this and getting the right look, especially with all the scratch details all around. It looks really nice, and I love this contrast with the red seat and the other red detailings around the cockpit, contrasting against the dark black. It looks absolutely fantastic. So if we go down towards the footwell area, we'll have a look around there. We can see the 2 windowed cutouts on either side. This is to aid the pilot with his spatial orientation whilst he's pulling aerobatic maneuvers. We'll also see some really nice scratching and detailing on the floorboards as well as the rudder pedals, and then if I just wipe out the controls quick, we will see all the push rods and all of that jazz moving as well. So really nice detailing there. And we'll just do a final pan around the cockpit here, give you guys a good look, see if we can get up close with some of the textures and everything else that's on the dash. And you can see that the guys really did put in a lot of effort here. The cockpit really does look great, considering that this is a community-driven mod. So let's pull it back. Okay, let's get the canopy closed, and as the canopy comes down around us, we'll notice this over here on the left-hand side, and one of the developers is Granelli. So as you can see, I'm currently sitting in his aircraft with his skin, and he's customized the inside of his canopy, which you can do too, as well as this nice little sticker here, so that's always fun. Okay, let's get the master switch on and we'll let everything boot up. We'll see the center EFIS here is slowly booting up, and there we go, we have our race display there, and we'll start from left to right. So if we look at the top left over here, we have the trim indicator. So if I trim down, we can see the trim changing, and if I trim up, we can see the trim changing again. Now the double line there represents neutral trim, please keep that in mind. So we have airspeed, we have our altimeter, We have the boost pump over here, and above that is just some non-functional circuit breakers. Then we have our transponder and a functional stopwatch, which is quite nice. And we can stop that there and reset. The mode button is not functional, please keep that in mind. We'll come back to the center stuff in a moment. Moving on to the big screen on the right, this is our primary EFIS. We're currently on the first page now, as you can see it's selected. So we have our current lap, our last lap, we have our standing, we have the comms that are currently selected, we have an RPM gauge, manifold, fuel quantity in gallons, and our fuel flow rate, which of course will start ticking up as we start the engine. And then the usual stuff that you would see on an HSI, and just below that we have our heading tape as well. To the right of that we have our internal fuel and our wing fuel. And please note here, wing tanks must be empty for aerobatics. Now generally speaking I set my fuel to around 10 to 15%, sometimes up to 20 if I'm doing a very long display or a long flight, but please make sure those wing tanks are empty when you're performing aerobatics, as you probably won't be able to pull the same amount of G or have the same maneuverability with those tanks full. So back to the screen, let's go on to page 2, which is our systems page. And here we'll see a nice little list of electrical systems. Now this screen is also touchscreen, so we can turn on and off the nav lights here, which we won't see at the moment because our wingtip covers are on. We can also turn on the floodlight, which shows up a lot better at night, and we can also change the color of the floodlight. You can see it just cycling there. We'll turn that off. One feature I really like on the right hand side here are the gauge lights. That gives us a nice white backlight behind all of our gauges. Makes it a bit easier to see if the lighting is not so great, or if you're flying at early morning or late evening. Okay, directly below that we have our smoke indicator. So at the moment we have 10 gallons of smoke loaded onto the aircraft, and yes, you can run out of smoke in this aircraft. This will tick down whilst we're flying if we have the smoke activated. We can also adjust the amount of smoke we have manually. There are keybinds for this. If you press minus on the keyboard, we will see that the smoke drops in quantity, and if we press the plus key, we will see that that increases. Now what you can do is set the smoke to infinite, and you do that by pressing the 0 key on the keyboard. Right, all the way on the left hand side we have our wallpaper select, which is quite a nice feature. We can scroll through a variety of different wallpapers there, and we'll keep it on black for now. Okay, now going over to the third page, which is the MP3 page. We do, much like the F-14 Tomcat, have an MP3 player in the aircraft, which is quite nice. So with that being said, I won't play this music here, I'll let you guys explore that on your own, but basically we have keybinds for this as well. So if you use the greater than and less signs on your keyboard, that will basically scrub, next track or previous track. And then the M key will be your pause and play. Okay, finally we have the config page. Now here these are all clickable for detaching the winglets on and off, spades, fuselage light, and we'll get to the show routine in a moment. And finally we have pilot selection, which gives us a variety of different skins for our pilot to use. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to roll a clip from the external to show you just what that looks like. Okay, back into the cockpit. The last button that we have is the show routine. So if I click on that, we will see that all of our race paraphernalia disappears in the center console. And now we have that replaced with a show routine that we can follow. This is obviously Paddy Wagstaff's 1992 championship winning aerobatic routine in arrestee notation, which I can read, but I'm not going to attempt to fly because that is way beyond my skill level. But obviously we can now change this out if you have your own routine you'd like to plug in, if you would like to use arrestee notation or have additional notes. It functions pretty similar to a knee board, but just with the one image displayed. Okay, so let's hide the routine, we'll get the race information back up, and let's go back to the main screen. Now, I will get to the race display and the LED bar in a moment once we get airborne, and I will explain that in detail. And finally, right at the bottom here, we have a map of the current course that we are practicing and training on. At the moment, we are flying Abu Dhabi, so there we just have a quick diagram showing you exactly how the course is meant to be run. Okay, so let's get the aircraft started. So first things first, bottom right, we're going to turn our fuel cock on. Then on the left, we are going to put our prop control to full forward, and we're going to crack the throttle. We're going to hold the brakes, turn on the boost pump, and turn over the key. And the aircraft is started. It's that simple. So I'm going to scrub through the taxi now, and we are going to line up onto the runway for takeoff, and in the meantime, listen to the sounds of the aircraft engine. Okay, we are lined up on the runway ready for departure. I'm going to release the brakes, slowly advance the power, and get airborne. Before we do this, I recommend you add in a few clicks of up trim. Obviously it depends on your setup and your joystick, but add a little bit of up trim, hold slightly on the back stick, and just let the aircraft float off the runway itself. Okay, let's get rolling. Okay, so as we're flying straight and level here, let's just go through a few extra functions. If I press this button here on the UAV, we will get that changed to another HSI or horizontal situation indicator, which effectively mirrors what we have on the right hand screen. Click it again to exit. So currently we have our airspeed displayed in the middle here, and below that we have our G. Now what you'll notice is that if I increase the power, the LED light bar starts to light up, and this should stop on the red light when we hit 200. Now this is a knots, and basically the reason why we have this light bar here is for the virtual air racing series we are limited to our gate entry speed at 200 knots. We must not exceed 200 knots. So this just gives us one way where we don't have to focus on that number, we can rather focus on flying our line, and we use this as a peripheral light bar just to give us an indication of what speed we're flying at. Now at the moment I have this set to a keybind, but we can also change out this display to read out in G and give us the light bar in relation to G. You can also do that by clicking this button over here where you can see it's a G speed or G toggle. So if I click that button, we're now in G mode. So if I increase the power here, go for a bit of a dive, and what I'll do is I'll just pull a little bit of G and we can see the lights coming on there, and as I increase the G, with the maximum being 12 when the red light comes on. And we'll do a little turn here, same sort of thing, we can see the light bar illuminating. So generally what I'll do is I'll enter the track and I'll be using the speed setting to make sure I get my entry speed correct, and then I'll use a keybind to click that over to the G meter for when I'm doing the vertical maneuvers. Now comes the question of how does it fly? Well, what is immediately apparent is that this aircraft is very twitchy and has a very fast roll rate, which is to be expected. This makes precision aerobatics a breeze, although my flying skills probably don't live up to that. The precision aspect of the flight model becomes far more apparent when we place this aircraft on a track. The Edge 540 makes mincemeat out of tight slaloms when in the right hands. As we pull into the half Cuban, you really get a feel for just how maneuverable this aircraft is as the G's pile on. In the downline, the acceleration is insane, and this makes a relatively short course a real challenge even for the most experienced pilots. It is also worth noting that the Edge has fantastic throttle response, which makes high-speed rejoins and formation flying in general an absolute pleasure. The thing is that this isn't a sales pitch. I'm not trying to get you to buy this aircraft, because it's free. And so is DCS, and so are the Vars pylons, and so is entry into Vars itself. All you really need is a PC capable of running DCS, an internet connection, and a joystick. In summary, I am truly grateful that we have this mod in DCS and the community that accompanies it. Thank you to the devs for allowing me early access to their stunning project and for giving me the opportunity to share this with you all. Thank you to the following virtual pilots who featured in this video for giving up their time. And finally, a big shout out and thank you to Kirby for kindly supplying me a great deal of promo footage seen in the intro of this video. Any and all website or Discord links that you may need in relation to this mod can be found in the description. So in closing, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, you guys know the drill. As always, my name is Panda, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.